Hello. A very good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. If you can hear us and see us on your screens, please type in a yes in the chat box. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Anil. Hi, Jia. Good evening, Dr. Devendra. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome. We are very well, Mr. Tomar. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Hello. Good evening. All right, so good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming on this webinar. I hope you're all doing well. If you can see Abhishek and me on the screen and can hear my voice loud and clear, please type in a yes in the chat box so that we know that we are reaching you and we are engaging you with this fantastic discussion that we have for you today. So if you can hear us and see us, please go ahead and type in a yes in the chat box.
That's great. We have quite a few yeses coming in. That's excellent.
Absolutely. So lots of yeses pouring in. Good evening, everyone. Perfect. So we now understand that we are audible, we are visible to you. And just to make sure that there are no confusions during the webinar, let's just understand a few ground rules. So technology is crucial, but sometimes it's not our best friend. So in case there's a lag in the video or the audio, or in case we disappear off the screen or there's some issue with the voice, don't fret, the webinar is still online. All you need to do is to simply refresh or reconnect, and you should be able to hear us and see us. Please also ensure that in the chat box option, please change the settings of your messages to send to everybody, because Mindlet team is online and we would love to answer questions for you. So in case you have questions that you want to be able to ask of us, please go ahead and write them in the chat box. We'll be able to answer them. And Mindlet team is online as always to help you with your queries. But please ensure that the questions reach them by changing the settings of your messages from send to admins to send to everybody. That way they can receive your queries and answer your queries well in time. Please utilize the chat box option to be able to ask lots and lots of questions. And please use the chat box option to answer questions that we ask of you, because this is a two-way dialogue that we're having. And it's not going to be a long discourse about careers in hospitality and culinary arts. It's going to be a much more enhanced experience than that. And in case you have any questions that you want to be able to ask in person, we are putting our email ID hello@mindlet.com as a sticky message on the top. That email ID would always be there. So please feel free to write to us with your questions in case you have any that don't get answered during the course of this webinar. With that thought, let's just begin and deep dive into the exciting domain of hospitality and culinary arts careers that we have to discuss today. Abhishek, over to you.
Perfect. Dipankar, and before that, I just want to say that we have another member joining us for the panel. Sir is just logging in. We have Professor Nafees Haider Naqvi, who will be just joining us shortly. He's having some network issues. But before that, I'll quickly introduce Sir and Dipankar as well. So, and after that, I can take the proceedings further. Professor Nafees Haider Naqvi is an accomplished senior level hospitality and tourism leader with over 20 years of experience in business, leadership, admissions, training and placements, and education management. She's currently the director of School of Hospitality and Tourism at Javelin Lake City University and has previously worked with a host of hospitality institutions as well as hotels. He has been awarded with the prestigious International Academic and Research Award by GSIS Foundation. I think Sir has just joined in. Perfect. We welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Perfect. No problem, sir. Great. Along with that, we have Mr. Dipankar Sehan. Dipankar is an application profiling specialist and drives overseas education vertical at Mindler. He is a dedicated mentor when it comes to guiding students to Ivy League and G5 institutes. He has previously worked with social change management, curriculum design for child welfare and life skills training. Lastly, it's me. I'm Abhishek. I'm a career coach at Mindler as well, and I support Dipankar in the overseas education vertical. Along with that, I have also worked in international retail and luxury management. So we hope today we are able to enrich you in the domains of hospitality and culinary arts. Dipankar, would you like to begin with the proceedings?
Thank you so much, Abhishek and Professor Naqvi. We are delighted to have you on board with us. Questions have already started pouring in. Don't worry, Kushi and Sangeeta. We would be taking those questions and answering them for you. But before we go any further, the domain of hospitality is something which is very intriguing. And it's something which is very, very interesting. It's something which is very, very personalized. So when we think of hospitality, people generally think cruise liners, people generally think airlines, people generally think hotels. My rendezvous or my experience with hospitality was an Uber car ride. So just to give you some context of what hospitality is and what hospitality is not, let me allow me to share one story with you. Okay. Now this happened sometime 2 years back, and as a part of my Mindler experience, we travel quite a lot. So it was just another day in February, and I was visiting some city in the country, and I landed at T3 at the Indira Gandhi International Airport in Delhi. As always, I just took my phone out and proceeded to book an Uber. What was different about this Uber ride was that usually when you pick up the call and call the other person, "Bhaiya, kahan par ho aap?" and there and that, I called the same thing. I did the same thing. I called him and told him, "I'm right here on the spot. Kahan par ho? Kitne mein aa rahe ho?" He said, "Sir, I'm already here in front of pillar number 3, pillar number 4, and I'm waiting for you." That was the first time in my life where an Uber guy said that I'm waiting for you already. I don't accept rides before I finish another ride. Okay, great. I went to the car, and this person, may I please request everyone on the panel to mute themselves so that there's no echo? Abhishek and Professor Naqvi, may I please request you to mute yourselves? Thank you. Riya, Yogesh, I think this one, this much we must, is this better for you guys? I think the disturbance element has gone now. Yep. So let's continue with the story, right? So I booked an Uber car, and he told me that he was at platform, he was at the pillar number 3, and I went there, and just when I was about to open the door, he took my suitcase from my hand and put it in the trunk. Okay, fair enough. Just as when I sat inside the car, he asked me to put my seatbelt on. Now I was puzzled. I was perplexed. Boss, is this India or I'm in some other city? This is India. This is Delhi. I'm on the back seat of the car, and an Uber driver is asking me to belt myself. Okay, interesting. Before he began the ride, he offered me a beverage. So would you like to have water? And trust me, he had a cold water bottle. He had a warm water bottle. He had a small PET bottle of Coke. And he offered me a beverage. And I was blown. Oh my God, this guy is something. I denied the beverage, and before he started the ride, he asked me, "Sir, can I start the ride?" I said, "Yes." "What kind of music would you want? Would you want Bollywood? Would you want Hollywood? Would you want Punjabi? Would you want jazz and blues? Tell me everything I've got." And now I was wondering, all right, when did Uber get so hi-fi? Okay, so long story short, we started from the airport towards my house. Now, February happens to be a very difficult time for me because dust allergies and pollen allergies. So I'm just coughing all the way. It's like coughing all the time. In the middle of the ride, this guy stops the car and he goes out. And I get all sorts of thoughts in my mind that, boss, what's happening? Is this guy planning to kidnap me? Is he getting more accomplices? Because this is nowhere, in the middle of nowhere, and he just stopped the car and went. And this is late at night. He stopped, he went out. A few minutes back, he came back in, and he got a few we got a few Vicks cough syrups, and he got a honey test for me. and said, I couldn't bear the thought of you coughing so hard. Please take these, you'll feel better. And that time I was really touched. I was like, this has to be the best Uber ride of my life. I went back home. It would be around 12:30 in the night. I take out my laptop, and the first thing I do is I write an email to Uber customer support, thanking them for such good ride, such good experience, and telling them what really happened. Nearly about 13, 14 hours later, Uber responds by telling me, congratulations, thank you so much for your feedback. And the particular feedback that you gave for the particular driver, this is the 500th feedback that I've got for the same driver, for the same guy. And given these multiple feedbacks, multiple amazing feedbacks, we have decided to hire this guy as a consultant for customer support, for customer engagement, for customer experience at Uber Delhi NCR. And I was like, wow. So hospitality for me is not having a meal in fancy hotels. Hospitality for me is about the experience. Whether it's in a hotel or it's in a hostel or it's in your very home or it's in a bank or it's in somewhere else. Hospitality is all about giving experiences. Experiences that you won't find otherwise. Experiences that you won't find anywhere else. Experiences that you would cherish and experiences that you would remember. And trust me, if somebody gives you that kind of experience, or you happen to give somebody that kind of experience wherein you connect on a human level, beyond all materialistic elements, when you connect on a human level, that's where the essence of this beautiful domain of hospitality lies. And let's understand this domain in a little more detail now as to what really happens, what can you do with hospitality, where you can utilize it, and more importantly, how can you begin your career in hospitality? Abhishek, over to you.
Perfect. Dipankar, definitely that was a very interesting story, and I totally believe most of us here will relate to that on some other level. It might not be an Uber ride which is very rare, like you rightly mentioned, but there will be instances that you would have come across. Now, hospitality for me, I would just pick on from where Dipankar left. It's all about experience. I totally reckon with that. I totally relate to that in every way. For me, hospitality is 3 words in particular. The first being anticipation. This word holds no bar in any other industry than it does in hospitality, simply because we need to be aware every second that what our clients can demand. And I'll clear when I mean the clients, because it's not only about hotels. I'll definitely touch upon hotel management because I know a lot of you will be talking about it, but we have an excellent person on our panel, Professor Naqvi is here. He will help us with that later. But what I want to focus on is what is hospitality. So anticipation is the key. Anticipation is simply trying to just, understand, take a step further, just perceiving the future, what might a client or a person require. Like Dipankar was mentioning the story that he was coughing. So he just thought, okay, they might need something to help with that. So that is looking away ahead. If I go to a hotel and, I'm standing there from half an hour and I see someone coming with a glass of water, that's anticipation. Someone made a difference. Someone was observing, and then they anticipated that and helped me out. Next important trait is generosity. Generosity is something which is so important and valuable to this domain, because if I am not generous, if I'm not able to go above and beyond my capacity to help out people, I don't belong in this industry. I'm so sorry to say that, but this is very true. And I say this with experience because I've observed some of the excellent professionals doing amazingly well in this domain. I've got the opportunity to work with them and observe for myself. The only way they can do it is they end up doing what is asked of them. They definitely go a step further. For instance, if I go to a hotel, I'm mentioning a hotel because this is what we think of most of the time. If I go to a hotel, okay, a dish is ordered. The person gets the dish for me. I'm sitting and eating that dish. But what is the next thing that I might require? I haven't ordered water. I haven't ordered drink. I might ask them. I might get it for them myself. That is generosity. That is part of what I'm doing. We are serving someone. And I think there's nothing better than making a person happy. And that is the essence behind hospitality. Lastly, what is most important is integrity. If you cannot be honest in this domain, I think you need to look for an alternate career, simply because this industry demands honesty and integrity from you. If you've done a mistake, if you've committed a mistake, you need to own that thing. You need to be honest about whatever you do. You need to be responsible. And most of the time we forget that. As in when I move forward and discuss the different avenues about hospitality, this will get clearer. But I wanted to put these 3 points all together before I started explaining those, so you can correlate and understand. Quickly, I have a small presentation for you, but I would want you to listen. And this is just for that. It is way more interesting. Like I was talking about hotel management. The first thing we think about when we hear hospitality is hotels. Absolutely, and why not? I think we all love traveling. We all going, be it for work or leisure. We all end up staying in hotels, different kinds of hotels, resorts, even for vacations. We all have stayed in hotels. We have all different experiences. Hotels have been of different kinds, but we all have that memory, one memory in particular, which is, precious to us. We might have gone on vacation with a family, with our friends, or on a school trip, or if we've traveled for work, whatever the reason might be. Hotels have been a very important part of us. And now you might be wondering, during this phase in life when we are going through such difficult times, nobody's visiting hotels, but they will survive. Definitely. We cannot exist without travel, hospitality, and hotels. This is a very big industry. But my point is this the only thing in hospitality? Is hotel management the only thing? Before I even take that step, I want to just discuss what is hotel management about. Most of the times, literally before we begin the webinar, Professor Naki was just giving us insight about how people are mostly unaware and don't want to think beyond, they think of hotel management, they think, okay, you have to cook, you have to make the hotel beds, you have to clean the hotel. That is not hotel management. That is a very, very small part of it. Hotel management is all about governing each and every activity in a hotel, making sure that your customers, your clients feel comfortable and welcome. That is the idea. If they're coming for whatever reason, they feel welcomed and the stay is exceptionally well. So whenever they step out of the hotel, whenever they're done with the stay, they only have good things to say about it. They can say, okay, we were really happy to visit this particular hotel. But what beyond that? What is hospitality beyond hotel management? In the last couple of decades, we have observed the industry has grown like anything. Five-star is a very interesting concept, but do we actually know what five stars really mean? I mean, we all hear the three-star hotels, four-star hotels, but what makes a hotel a five-star hotel? Why and how the hotel reaches towards an excellence point? I think I'll ask Professor Naqvi later to throw some light on this as well. But this is something to think about. We just say that hotels are differently rated. Speaking of five-star, I have a hotel which is rated seven-star in the world. Most of us would know about it. Can anyone type? Do you know which hotel is this? This is a very can anyone take a guess which hotel is this? I think this is very easy. Anyone? Kushal, it's not Burj Atlantis. Absolutely, Kanishka. Thank you so much. One of the most famous hotels, Atlantis the Palm. Absolutely, Arvind. Thank you so much for answering that. Why have I picked this hotel in particular? Simply because when we were talking about experience and hospitality, this is right at the top with the kind of experience it provides to the clients. I mean, you will really find any review website, any person talking, who has been to this hotel and stayed there will ever say that we did not have a good experience. But why is that? Simply because they make sure the client feels welcome, they feel privileged to be there, they feel happy to be there, whatever reason they might be there for, they always feel welcome there. And that is the essence behind it. And as you can see, there's a room underwater. I mean, how many hotels you can talk about in the world? There's so many of them now, but they were one of the first few to do that, bring a different experience altogether. And that is about hospitality, being creative, being innovative. That's another side of it. How do you make an experience better? I mean, of course, every hotel works on a similar platform that they provide a place to stay, to live, to have, a good time. But the idea is what more is to that? How can they be creative? How can they come up with something which was never talked about, never heard of? And this is something which is, a new beginning in terms of hospitality. Capsule hotels. I think 5 or 7 years ago, Japan came up with this concept, which is now picked up dramatically. It's being present in some of the major airports in the world now. Went on from Japan to Middle East, and now so many countries have incorporated this. And now they're making a concept available for a lot of travelers who used to live in hostels when they used to travel in cities like in European cities, but now they're staying in capsule hotels. It's such an interesting concept. It's all about providing, convenient way of staying. Convenience is another thing that is important about hospitality. I mean, it's not necessarily about providing a luxury stay. It's about providing a time-consuming and convenient stay. There used to be time when people used to, have long layovers at the airport, and they couldn't find any place to stay. Hotels were booked for whatever reason might be. Then capsule hotels came into the picture. Abu Dhabi has established one of the most luxurious capsule hotels in the world. You definitely must have a look at that as well. But this is something innovative, and this is redefining the industry. Moving ahead of hotels and resorts and everything else, now I'm talking about cruises. Cruises, as we see, I mean, we look at travel and vacation, but it employs so many people that so many different career fairs that are working at a particular cruise. And now it's such a diverse and rich area as well. I mean, when we look at hotel management, this is the major extension to that. Hospitality has grown in a dramatic way, and this is right an example. I have a couple of examples for you as well. When we look at private traveling tours or vacations, we talk about private jets or yachts. These are all, they employ people to help them. Again, that's hospitality, helping people in whatever capacity on a personalized way. That is part of hospitality. These are just some of the extensions for you to understand that hospitality goes beyond that. Now, taking a whole different route from hotels and similar industries, I want to talk about how hospitality is integrated in the world of fashion and luxury. The picture you see over here, this is from one of the leading department stores in the world. This is their personal shopping cell. What happens here is a client walks in and takes a seat here. They are definitely immediately after they greeted by a person who is an expert in the domain of luxury shopping. They keep sitting here and end up shopping whatever they want to because they have a person dedicated to them helping them out. This is again the act of serving someone or helping someone. This is again a part of hospitality. 7 to 10 years ago, I think in the last decade, this industry has grown rapidly. Even if I talk about the scenario now, when we are considering that, okay, what about the fashion and luxury world? Are they still working? Are they still functioning? Absolutely, yes. Personal shopping and luxury shopping have picked up like anything, but that has gone virtual. People are sitting at the comfort of their homes. What is happening is the people working in these boutiques around the world are recording videos for them, are helping them, see the clothes through virtual platforms, be it VR or AR. Either of the ways, it's being happening. And this is again making a life comfortable and accessible. Similarly, with boutiques, if you go there, you need someone. I'm just showing an example of augmented reality, how it is coming to life. And this is again an extension. Before I move forward to culinary arts, I want to just briefly explain one more point about hospitality, which is that this domain is pervasive. It doesn't stop at hotels, luxury brands, fashion brands. It goes to corporate world as well. Let me give you an example. We all have heard about American Express, right? That is one of the major banks in the world, and it primarily caters to travelers around the world. We have the Amex card. Do you know there's a particular role in place of a lifestyle manager? What does the person do? They work with all the elite clientele that the bank has and helps them curate their travel itineraries or help them figure out, what can they do, what can they purchase, what things they can buy for themselves, helping them out in whatever way. That is, again, this is part of the corporate world as well. And that is just one sphere. If I look at wealth management banks as well, some of the leading investment banks as well, they have a particular clientele, which is elite of the elite. And what they do, they need people helping them out with whatever they might need. So they have dedicated hospitality professionals who have been working in the domain, have great exposure, helping them out. Now I would like to ask Dipankar to help you further understand how you can pursue a career in hospitality.
Thank you, Abhishek, for that really comprehensive insight into the application of hospitality. And I know a lot of questions are coming in about the scope and challenges, etc. So we'll come on that. Don't worry. We have an expert here on the panel who's going to give us a lot of data. But before we go to that aspect, I want to take a few minutes to help you understand how do you engage into the domain of hospitality. Now, hospitality as a sector is not very hell-bent on marks. So if you're somebody who says that I'm a 98%, I'm a 99%er, I am somebody who's got a lot of marks in my class 12 boards, that's great, awesome for you. But that is not going to be the key metric on which you will get an admission to hospitality institutions. Mostly, many of the colleges, they will either engage in some format of interview testing, or they will engage in some format of assessments through an online or an offline entrance examination. Online in the current scenarios, otherwise it used to be an offline scenario as well. There are certain things that you need to be able to master if you need to engage in a hospitality industry. The first and the foremost of that is communication skills. That's why English communication, foreign language communication, regional language communication are extremely, extremely important, because to be able to get across your point of view, to be able to help serve better, to be able to engage with people or clients that are coming across to you, communication is one of the core key aspects you need to build on. And that's why most of the examinations, most of the entrances, most of the elements of interviews as well test you on a single banded mind, which is communication, and specifically the English level of communication. So you can expect a lot of English coming on your hospitality industry entrance examinations. The next thing that you need to be aware of is something called service mindedness or service orientation. And that's where ideas of how to behave in a particular situation, ideas on how to engage in anticipation, how to observe people, and what kind of etiquettes you must follow while communicating with people, what kind of etiquettes you must follow on the table, off the table, what kind of etiquettes you might follow probably while leading somebody to their room. All those aspects are elements of service orientation. This is where something which needs to be driven into the head is that in the hospitality industry, client is the king or the queen, and they really are that person. So it's always client first. It's always whatever the client wants, that needs to be done on priority. So client-centric approach needs to be ingrained into you if you're somebody who's considering a career in hospitality, because like Abhishek said, your clients can come up with the most quirkiest of demands that they would want of you. So that's where client-first approach needs to take a really good stand, and service orientation will really, really help you on that. The third element you need to be able to build upon is something called awareness. Now, awareness, your self-awareness, your general awareness, or whatever's happening in the world, because sometimes to be able to build a rapport with the other person, you need to engage in a topic that is customized for them. Now, for example, if I'm let's say I'm a hotel manager in India in one of the hotels, and I have a guest coming on from, let's say, America. A good point of communication with that person would be to possibly talk about the hashtag Black Lives Matter movement. So what's happening across the globe, what's happening across the world, what's happening across your country, city, what is the heritage of your city, what would you recommend in terms of food, what would you recommend in terms of places to visit? All that knowledge needs to be there. And that's why GK is yet another element which is tested on the entrance pattern. More than that, we are looking at the interviews, which are the biggest elephant to be able to cross. Now, interviews, obviously, they test you on your communication skills. They test you on your service orientation. They test you on your ability to navigate situations. But most of all, what they test you is on a couple of things, because we're talking about resilience. We're talking about patience. We're talking about huge amount of perseverance, because hotel management is not probably the easiest of jobs. So hospitality is not perhaps the easiest of jobs. It's here that you will need to put in those long number of hours. You will need to kind of keep up with those high pressure hours. But the returns, if you're somebody who loves communicating with people, if you're somebody who's loved traveling, if you're somebody who's looking at communicating across borders, that is an excellent option to engage in. But there will be long hours, there will be a bit of struggle. But if you pass through the struggle period, it's the world is literally your canvas. So you could be somebody who could be working with right from the Oberois to Taj to Hyatts of the world, and even engage, like Abhishek spoke about, banks. You could even engage with top-notch organizations, right from Facebooks and Googles and Twitters, to keep up with their most elite of clientele. And that's where we're talking about interview skills. So patience, resilience are softer skills we need to be able to build on. We need to be somebody who's creative. We need to be somebody who's genuine. And most of all, there needs to be a demonstration of what you can do. So we cannot just, kind of build dreamy castles in the air and, I'll do this, I'll do that. There needs to be strong examples of how are you confident. There need to be strong examples of how are you a team player. There need to be strong examples of how you're leadership. There needs to be a strong example of how did you solve a problem. There needs to be a example of what would you do in spontaneity. So a typical question could come across like that: if you're a front desk manager in a hotel and you notice that there's a double booking for the room, what will you do? How will you manage both the parties? So all those kind of situation-based analysis, all those kinds of quick on-the-spot thinking, spontaneous thinking is something that we need to be building off. The next question that you might have on your mind is, okay, now that you've given a garden list of all that we need to build upon, how do we actually start building it? The answer lies in probably just one or two activities. One is reading. The more you read, the better you speak, the better you write. Reading is directly proportional to your communication skills. Reading is also directly proportional to your understanding of different cultures. It's also proportional to your understanding of cross-cultural components. It's also proportional to understanding of people. The more you understand people, the more you understand their thought process, the more you understand their context, you're able to anticipate their needs better. The more you're able to anticipate their needs better, the faster you are supposed to find a solution. The faster you find a solution, the better manager in a hospitality sector you'll be. So reading is just one activity that leads to so many paradigms, and that's why we ask all of you attending this webinar to just read, because that is the most basics of lifestyle. Another way could be that you could engage in lots of YouTube viewing. So right from table manners and etiquettes to plating, to all of these elements, we can be working on let's say table etiquettes. We can be talking about social situations. We can be talking about how to communicate. These are some of the basic skills we need to be able to engage in, so that we are somebody who can build ourselves, who can build our skill sets for working in the hospitality industry. To be able to connect the dots, know basics of mathematics, to be able to write reports, to be able to draft invitations, to be able to understand aesthetics. If you're somebody, for example, who wants to specialize into event management with a background in hospitality, you say that I'm going to be the next best, India's best wedding planner. Even then, you need to be able to understand hospitality, because it's all about experiences. What is it that what you can do new, so that the shadi that you carry out is one of its kind. You say, I want to do an exhibition. You say, I want to do all sorts of events. You say, I want to do a virtual conference. I want to do a conference. All of that will be built in to your hospitality sector. So it's just like Abhishek said, it's pervasive. It is. I understand that it's going through a rough patch at the moment, but trust me, that is one of those sectors which will bounce back. And at this point, I invite Dr. Naqvi to share his insights on this point that I've just raised. So, Dr. Naqvi, a lot of students think that just because of the COVID-19 pandemic, understand that aviation, hospitality, they're all affected. There's no denying that they're affected.
Yeah.
But my personal belief is that it will bounce back, and probably higher than other sectors, because the need for experiences, the need for pampering yourself, the need for feeling better as a person, be feeling better personally, is going to be ever evolving, and it's going to be there. So what are your comments on that? And if you could share some data with us, because there was a question that somebody asked, that given the COVID-19 situation, what is the future of hospitality? So await your comments on that.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm also seeing to the questions, and those are very genuine and require at this point of time. That is it safe to take hospitality as a career for next coming years? So let me share some data of last year, 2019. In India only, there was 4.2 crores jobs which are directly related to travel, tourism, and hospitality. 4.2 crores. It means 8.1% of total jobs generated in India is from hospitality, which includes travel and tourism also. And when we talk about the scenario, how big the industry is, that it hold 9.2% of the GDP last year, GDP of a country. And I researched and I found many countries like Maldives, it has 42% share from travel and tourism and hospitality in its GDP. 42%. The countries like Thailand, they are going somewhere around 26% of their GDP. So, yeah, there is an effect, and which is quite visible. But as I am teaching for last 15 years, and I'm myself responsible for the placement, day before yesterday, I received a call on WhatsApp, a message from Taj Goa. They are coming up with a new property at this point of time, and they need a student. So yesterday, I have sent in them some CVs of my current batch and passed out batch alumni also. So you people need not to worry, the new kids, those who are going to in this field now, because anyhow, if they go for a UG program, it will take another 3 years. And if we go for the PG program in hospitality and tourism, then it will take another 2 years. And believe me, out of 20 years of experience, 4 years I have served in industry, and then 16 years into teaching. I have seen this type of scenario earlier also. But I want to say that industry will bounce back with a double speed. Today only Taj Rambagh, Jaipur, they opened up their operation. Radisson, Faridabad, they opened up their operation around a week back. So there are something which new they are doing now. They are more conscious about hygiene and 5-star 5-star hotels always, since the inceptions, they are the best places in terms of hygiene because they are charging a lot just because they are using best products and best services. So I don't think it's going to be more than 3 or 4 months more. By the end of December, everything will be fine because from October to March, India will start their travel tourism season. हर कंट्री का एक सीजन होता है, तो इंडिया में जो सीजन है that start from October and it end in March because that's a good atmosphere, good weather at that period of time. So वो है, and definitely industry will come back. You need not to worry. So I've shared the things, and when we talk about the rank of India, there are it's around 195 countries in that list, and India ranked 34 on 34 number in terms of tourism. That मतलब foreign tourism. अगर हम उसमें domestic जोड़ेंगे तो it becomes huge. बहुत बड़ा है. आपने अभी तक जितने बच्चों ने यह सवाल पूछा है, have you seen any advertisement where the hotel is saying that we are selling the property? No, never. During 2001, when there was a hit on WTC, and then American and European countries had advised not to travel to Indian subcontinent, at that time, at that point of time also, there was no property which was closed. ठीक है, ऑक्यूपेंसी नीचे गई थी, सेल कम हुई थी, जहां हम माइनस में जाने चाह रहे थे, मतलब हमारे बुकिंग्स इतनी थी. एट दैट टाइम आई वाज विद जेपी पैलेस आगरा, तो वहां पर हमारी जो ऑक्यूपेंसी थी वो 3% 4% मैक्सिमम गई थी. बट ना तो जेपी पैलेस आगरा बंद हुआ है, अभी भी चल रहा है. दैट्स व्हाट इट्स अ बेस्ट प्रॉपर्टी इन आगरा in terms of business and the grandeur they have. So ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. I just wanted to assure all the students, those who are attending this, that you need not to worry. You still have 3 years to go, and mark my word, out of my experience, by December everything will be fine. I'll tell you one thing: the students those who have passed out this year, they are passing out now in June. So they got some offers, and fortunately, none of the offers has been cancelled till yet. So they have offer from the Oberoi Towers, Mumbai. They have Fun Bangalore. Some joinings are in July, some joinings are in September. Depend upon the hotel calendar. Till now, I haven't got received any application either for the delay or for cancellation. So I'm assured that everybody will be placed this year also. और 3 साल के बाद तो there will be a boom. कोई मसला नहीं. क्योंकि क्या होगा मैं आपको बताऊं कि अभी इसी डर की वजह से लोग कम जाएंगे. आज का जो डिमांड है दैट इज 50,000 एम्प्लॉइज पर ईयर इन द होटल इंडस्ट्री. न्यू जो कर रहे हैं वो नहीं, नए. और अगर आप कैलकुलेट करें, नेशनल काउंसिल जो सबसे बड़ा हॉस्पिटैलिटी एजुकेशन चलाता है, नेशनल काउंसिल ऑफ होटल मैनेजमेंट, उनकी टोटल सीट है 16,835 और डिमांड है 50,000. बाकी सारे भी जोड़ लें, प्राइवेट ये वो सब मिला के कितने होंगे? 25,000. यू आर शॉर्ट बाय 50% ऑफ योर डिमांड एट द करंट डेट. एंड यू कैन सी द हाउ मेनी ब्रांड्स आर कमिंग नाउ इन इंडिया. भोपाल जैसी छोटी सी जगह में ताज भी आ रहा है, वहां सायाजी भी है, वहां मैरियट भी है, बारबेक्यू नेशंस भी है. सो यू सी द एक्सपेंशन. बाइंग कैपेसिटी लोगों की बढ़ रही है, लोग खा रहे हैं, need not to worry on that.
And that's very valuable information, Professor Naqvi. We do have a couple of questions for you, but before we get to those questions, I see a lot of questions coming in for culinary arts, and we want to speak about that domain as well.
Your voice is cracking.
Abhishek, you can hear me clearly, right?
Yeah, I can. So I think you can video. Oh, your video is stopped.
So before we speak about culinary arts, I do want you to take you through a few pictures that I expect would induce a little bit of feelings inside you vis-a-vis if you love food. Now, culinary arts is one of those domains which is never going out of business, because come what may, we'll never stop eating good food. For a lot of us, it's equivalent to feeling happy, and that's why culinary arts is one domain wherein if you are somebody who can bring ingenuity, if you're somebody who can bring a lot of creativity, if you're somebody who can bring in lots and lots of flair to what you do, you are golden. Now imagine, for example, it's all about experiences again. Now, when Barbecue Nation started, for example, they were still serving the same age-old dishes. They were still serving paneer tikka, they were still serving chicken tikka, they were still serving all those tandoori flair. But what they did different was they got tandoor out of the kitchen and put it on your table so that you can have a live tandoor experience. Likewise, you have so many other restaurants, and if you're somebody who watches MasterChef area often now and then, you would realize that this is one industry wherein if you've got the skills, if you've got the if you've got the flair for it, you are somebody who's going places. So before we get into the types of careers associated with the culinary arts, I do want to take a minute of your time to be able to talk about how do you get in here. Now, all of those areas, now, for example, culinary arts is one of those domains where you'll have degrees, where you'll have short-term programs, you'll have certifications, you'll have diplomas, you'll also have lots and lots of short courses that you can do. And by the cuisine that you're interested in, by the area that you want to get in, by the food that you want to make. So all sorts of flexibility in terms of what you want to do is there. When you look at culinary arts, this is one of those domains which is one of the more rewarding domains, because people tell you how good their food was and how much they love the food. So all those kind of things are coming in vis-a-vis the culinary arts. If you're somebody who's interested in this domain, a good idea for you might be to actually engage in skills building. So less of just reading about what culinary arts is and more of experimenting. So for example, if you're somebody who's read about what the basic four sauces of French cuisine, or you're somebody who read about all sorts of Middle Eastern dips, whether it's baba ganoush or it's tzatziki or it's hummus, whatever. The idea is to try it out. Even if you can't get an internship in a fancy 5-star hotel, that should not stop you from pursuing this an internship in your local cafe. These days you have food trucks, and these are food trucks which are owned by people who've done their MBAs, etc., and worked in top-notch organizations, and they left those organizations to own food trucks. They're the ones you can approach to actually get an internship there. All right. So the more you experiment, the more practical learning that you engage in, the better this domain gets out for you. The scope per se of culinary arts is not going to go down, because it's an area which is all about happiness. It's an area which is all about making ourselves feel better by eating great food, and that's never going out. Abhishek, over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Dipankar, for setting the context. And of course, we have some brilliant and amazing looking dishes on the table. But before that, I want to talk about people behind it. When we speak of culinary arts, we definitely go to cooking. And I think that is the essence about culinary arts. But culinary arts is not just about cooking. It's about baking. It's about pastries, any possible domain. So when we look at the domain, we can be a chef. We can be a pastry chef. We can be someone excelling in the domain of baking. We can look at mixology, working with curating and creating amazing drinks. That is all part of the domain of culinary arts. Culinary arts happens to be one part of the broader umbrella of hotel management. So that is where the relation lies. And I'll talk about how the domain of culinary arts extends as well shortly. But before that, I will talk about how some of the people in the domain have made it big and what is common in them. If I speak of Mr. Madhur Jafri, late Mrs. Sarla Dalal, Ms. Nita Mehta, Vikas Khanna, Sanjeev Kapoor, all are big names, or Gagan Anand for that matter. They're all star chefs doing exceedingly well around the world and made a name for themselves. What is common to all of them? Their passion for cooking and food. All through these years, they have made sure they come up with exciting dishes, made an exceptional effort. Professor Naqvi, could I please ask you to mute? There's a lot of disturbance.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No problem.
There was a net problem.
No problem, sir. No problem.
Yes, tell me. We can continue.
Sir, can you please mute for a second? Yeah, here. I think there's a disturbance. Perfect. Thank you, sir. Right. So I was talking about how these people have been passionate about the food for over decades and how they have provided the best dishes possible. They've all seen MasterChef and be MasterChef India, Australia. They have all seen amazing dishes being made. Like Dipankar was talking about that as well. There's so much to be done when it comes to food. It's not just about, it's not just about cooking for that matter. There are so many different industries and professions that come out of this particular domain. If I have the passion for eating, I can be a food critic as well. All these people who end up writing for magazines and interviewing all these amazing chefs and end up hosting these shows or starting their own cooking channels, like Dipankar was talking about food trucks as well. They were all chefs coming from rich backgrounds. They all have experience in the food industry, but they decided to take an unconventional route. But does that mean they don't belong to the industry? They absolutely do. They are taking the industry forward in their own way. It's just up to me how I want to take it forward. I might have served in the industry for 10 good years, work for the best restaurant. Maybe I had my own restaurant. Maybe I've managed to win a Michelin star, which is literally the most distinct honor for any chef, for any person working in this particular industry. Speaking of Michelin stars, students, you would be amazed that there are so many food truck owners in the world who have earned Michelin stars. They are not, mind you, they're not restaurant chefs. They are still earned Michelin stars. There's a food market in Singapore where people earn Michelin stars for the food flea market. Can you believe that? They're not working in a fancy restaurant. It's just about how they've taken the food legacy forward, served the customers for over the years. Maybe the family started a particular recipe they're serving for all these years. That is what makes it special. Like Professor Naqvi and Dipankar have already mentioned, we cannot stop eating. Especially in a country like ours where we have such talented chefs, where we have such amazing food being made at each of our houses, such delectable cuisines, the industry won't stop. It's just about how we want to take it forward. Dipankar has already spoken about how you can get in the industry. There's so many different ways. Quickly, I want to mention about different domains that have extended out of this. I might love to travel. I can be a food blogger visiting the best restaurant in the world just because I have a knowledge about food. Maybe I've done a diploma or a degree or a certification course in the domain of food and food technology or culinary arts. I can take my passion forward in a different way. Maybe I'm traveling to the best hotels in the world, curating the best dishes, and putting out there on my blog, on my Instagram page, and helping people give reviews to them. This is such a big industry now. Like Sir was giving very rightly the stats earlier, this is a legit industry. You won't believe, students and everyone who's here, that this has emerged as a very strong domain. People have resorted to alternate career options because of this, because the opportunity is amazing. If you love to travel and if you love food, there's nothing better than that. You are working in a profession where you're not only enjoying, you're satisfied with it. And you get to travel the world, eat at the best restaurant, talk to the best chefs in the world, understand how they have been doing what they're doing. I'm all sure you watch series on Netflix, Hotstar, Amazon, whatever platform. There's so many documentaries by chefs like Claire Smith, Gordon Ramsay, Thomas Keller, Mrs. Sanjeev Kapoor, Chef Vikas Khanna. There's so many documentaries on their lives and how they've taken the journey forward. You can definitely explore that, but this domain is not going anywhere. I just want to reiterate what Professor Naqvi has mentioned, that this domain will survive. Even now, we are not eating in a particular restaurant maybe, but we are still ordering food. That is still happening for a lot of people. Hotels are still open, they're still functioning. Of course, they have gotten more careful and changed the way they were governing their processes earlier. Of course, they have to be, because this is a very difficult time. But does that mean the business has stopped? Have the people stopped eating? And I think that's way more rhetorical, because we can never stop eating.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Abhishek. Professor Naqvi, I'd like to bring you in for the first of my question, which is a lot of questions are coming in, and I want to understand what are some of the necessary traits in a student of hospitality. So we spoke about skills, but what are some of the personality traits that you would associate with hospitality industry?
Dipankar, there's a very obvious question, and one thing which I wanted to mention, in our industry, we never call a person client. We call him a guest. Fine. So that's the biggest threat your biggest quality a person should have, to consider anyone who's coming as a guest. That gives you personal touch. So one thing is that very clear, it is not a job. Sorry. If you are here for a job 9 to 5, you're not made for it. It's a service which gives you a livelihood. It's provide you money, it's provide you fame, it's provide you everything. But you have to have that. First thing is first, is you have, Dipankar has elaborated a lot about communication, personality and everything. So uska ek chota sa hissa hai, which every hotel sees in you when they interview you. It's attitude. What is your attitude towards service industry? It's a service industry. It's human. Like education hai, hospital hai, army hai, and same way hotel hai. You cannot ask, agar a check-in delay hua hai, which is supposed to be 60 rooms are coming in with a group, और आपका 9 to 4 का आपका shift 8 to 4 होता है, normally 7 to 4. तो 4 बजे you can't say कि I'm leaving. You have to wait for that trip to come and then finish the check-in, and then you have to move. It's more about service. First thing first is the attitude we should have. Second most important thing is basic knowledge. When you're doing a course, hotelier knows you are not a master. If you are, they are interviewing you for let's say for kitchen, for which we call food production. So suppose you are getting interviewed for food production, they know that they are not interviewing Kunal Kapoor. They are interviewing a person who's passing out, but you should know the basics. The basic, at least you should know 5 mother sauces. If you are going in kitchen, you should know the derivatives. You should know, अगर आपको Indian kitchen में जाना है, तो you should know at least 5 तरह की gravies तो पता हो कौन सी बनाते हैं. 3 साल में क्या पढ़ा. पहली चीज है attitude should be there, basic knowledge need to be there, and definitely वो जमाने लग गए जब communication skills काम नहीं आती थी kitchen में. आजकल ऐसा नहीं है. Chef has to take a round to the restaurant, invite to the people to their kitchen, tell them about their recipes, their cuisine, their innovations, their fusions. So एक जमाना जब हमसे भी पहले एक जमाना था, हमारे टाइम में ऐसा था कि if you are in kitchen, you need not to have a guest interaction. But अब ऐसा नहीं है. So अगर ऐसा नहीं है, तो you should either you are front office, room service, or you are in banquets, whatever. You should have a good communication skills. ठीक है, आपके मॉड्यूलेशन सही होने चाहिए. You should have a good pitch of the voice. ठीक है, and you should have some etiquette way to speak. बोल सब लेते हैं, but हमारे यहाँ ये कहा जाता है कि communication should be like this, कि अगर आप कुत्ते को भी बुलाएं तो वो भी आपकी तरफ आ जाए. It's not about humans only. आपकी communication उस लेवल के होने चाहिए कि everybody get attracted to you जब आप बोलें. तो वो लेवल आना खैर बड़ा मुश्किल होता है, लेकिन अगर आप उसके लिए टारगेट करेंगे तो एटलीस्ट यू विल गेट एटलीस्ट टू द ह्यूमंस. सो कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स मस्ट, बेसिक नॉलेज, एटीट्यूड सबसे बड़ी चीज है. एटीट्यूड टुवर्ड्स द इंडस्ट्री. आपके पास सर्विस का एटीट्यूड नहीं है, आप बंदे को क्लाइंट मान के चल रहे हैं, गेस्ट नहीं समझ रहे हैं, यू आर नो वे टू सर्वाइव. या तो सर्वाइव ही नहीं कर पाएंगे, या सबसे बड़ी बात जो एक बहुत बुरी बात है, राइज नहीं कर पाएंगे. नौकरी आप करते रहेंगे लेकिन आप राइज नहीं करते, क्योंकि हर आदमी, सॉरी टू से, जनरल मैनेजर नहीं बनता है. कुछ लोग ही बनते हैं. हर आदमी एग्जीक्यूटिव शेफ नहीं बनता है, कुछ लोग ही बनते हैं. उनमें यही डिफरेंसेस होते हैं. सोशल लाइफ थोड़ी सी आपको क्या कहते हैं सेक्रीफाइस करनी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि जिस दिन लोग होली मना रहे होंगे उस दिन आप शिफ्ट कर रहे होंगे, उस दिन होटल में ज्यादा भीड़ होगी. तो सोशल लाइफ थोड़ी सी आपकी, लेकिन वो शुरू में होती है. और एक बहुत बड़ी चीज है जो मैं कहने वाला हूं, डिग्निटी ऑफ लेबर. हमने सबने सुना होगा, काम कोई छोटा नहीं होता. होटल में एक्चुअल में नहीं होता. मैंने जनरल मैनेजर को प्लेट्स वाइप करते देखा, क्योंकि जो बाहर गेस्ट बैठा था वो थे मिस्टर वाजपेयी और परवेज मुशर्रफ. तो जनरल मैनेजर भी प्लेट्स वाइप करके भेज रहा था. तो वो होती है डिग्निटी ऑफ लेबर, जो इंडस्ट्री में बहुत जरूरी है. कहते सब हैं, बट आई थिंक 90% हम लोग नहीं फॉलो करते हैं. हिंदुस्तान में छोटा बड़ा काम सब होता है. तो इसलिए वेन एवर वी सेंड पीपल फॉर ट्रेनिंग, इंडस्ट्रियल ट्रेनिंग होती है 6 महीने की कोर्स में. सो देन मतलब पर्टिकुलरली बच्चों से वो काम करवाया जाता है जिससे उनकी ईगो किल हो, उनको डिग्निटी ऑफ लेबर समझ में आए. दे आस्क टू क्लीन WC, दे आस्क टू मॉप द पब्लिक एरिया इन फ्रंट ऑफ द पीपल. तो उससे क्या होता है, यू डेवलप. एक तो सबसे बड़ी चीज है ईगो मर जाती है, जो बहुत जरूरी है. यू शुड नॉट हैव एनी टाइप ऑफ ईगो. 5 साल का बच्चा भी आपको कुछ भी कह सकता है होटल में, एंड यू आर नॉट सपोज टू रिप्लाई. आपको तब भी हंसते रहना है, यस सर, ओके सर. वो चीज जो है वो डेवलप करनी पड़ती है, और वो हम लोग कोशिश करते हैं कि बच्चों डेवलप करें. That's what biggest things you require. Attributes of a good hotelier.
Absolutely, sir. I think that is very relevant insight that you've given. I have a question for you, sir. Can you please explain to the students that what is the process of getting into JLU School of Hospitality? Like, what all do you look for in a candidate, and what is the process?
Process is quite simple. It's a two-step process. You have to go to the website, and then you have to fill an online form. Then a call will come, and then right now we don't have a facility of personal interviews, so we are doing it online. There will be a panel of either me or my subordinate program leader, or both of us will take an interview on a Zoom call, WhatsApp call, and then we try to talk to a person a lot. So we wanted to initially we want to check the two things. One is the attitude and the one is the communication skills, obviously. क्योंकि मैं सबसे कहता हूँ sometimes people don't like it. We are not looking for Einstein. हमारे यहाँ 2+2 4 नहीं होता हमेशा. It becomes 5 also, it becomes 3 also, depending upon the condition, circumstances, and depending upon the demand of the guest. So we are looking for that कि वो attitude है बच्चे में या नहीं है. दूसरी बात obviously the communication skills, and foremost third thing which we are very particular about, whether the students going to be ready on our grooming standards. I have seen many people, those who brings many reasons, especially in some communities, कि सर हमारे यहाँ तो शेप बनाए थे नहीं है, तो हम तो बनवाते हैं भाई. ठीक है, होटल इंडस्ट्री में नवरात्रे, रमजान, मुहर्रम, श्राद्ध ये सब नहीं होता. शेप बनाना है तो बनाना है. मैं छुट्टी पर हूँ बट मुझे बनाना था तो बनाना है, मेरी आदत में है. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. तो वो ये 3 चीजें हम देखते हैं. एक तो हमारे ग्रूमिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स पे बच्चा एग्री करता है या नहीं. Last year I have refused 4 applications. I have interviewed them. They said they all are from a particular community. So they said कि सर हम तो शेप नहीं बनाएंगे. तो मैंने सर हम एडमिशन. Other than the Sardars, we don't allow anyone to come unshaved. So वो JLU का अपना स्टैंडर्ड है, ग्रूमिंग है और कम्युनिकेशन एंड आपका एटीट्यूड. एटीट्यूड इज मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. एटीट्यूड नहीं है तो आप कितना पढ़ लो, यू डू PhD इन हॉस्पिटैलिटी इंडस्ट्री को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता कौन सी डिग्री करिए. दे नीड द एटीट्यूड, बेसिक स्किल्स एंड कम्युनिकेशन. दैट्स इट. उन्हें फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा कि वो 4 साल की डिग्री है, 3 साल का डिप्लोमा है, 3 साल की डिग्री है, डिग्री का नाम BSc HHA है, डिग्री का नाम BHMCT है. दे लीस्ट बॉदर. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
So my next question.
बच्चों में ये कंफ्यूजन होता है सर BHMCT करें या BSc करें. तो आप एक ऐसे कॉलेज से कोर्स करें, मेरे से करें या कहीं और से करें. आई एम नॉट फोर्सिंग एनीवन, आई एम नॉट कंपेनिंग फॉर माय. आप सिर्फ उस कॉलेज से करें जहां का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अच्छा हो, जिनके पास प्रैक्टिकल का बजट हो. मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. होटल मैनेजमेंट इज नथिंग बट द प्रैक्टिकल. 70% प्रैक्टिकल, 30% थ्योरी. और किचन में प्रैक्टिकल कराने में जब आपको टेंडरलॉइन खरीदना पड़ता है तो अच्छे अच्छे ओनर्स की निकल जाती है हवा. क्योंकि वो ये कहते हैं कि हर हफ्ते हम क्यों खरीदें, और अगर हर हफ्ते आप नहीं खरीदेंगे सामान, स्पेशली इन किचन, यू हैव टू कंडक्ट प्रैक्टिकल एवरी वीक. एक किचन का, एक बेकरी का, 2 प्रैक्टिकल. तो कभी भी आप किसी कॉलेज जाए भी, या किसी ने पूछा था विच इज द बेस्ट कॉलेज इन इंडिया, तो बेस्ट कॉलेज इज दैट कि आप उस कॉलेज की प्रैक्टिकल फाइल देखें और उस बंदे से ये पूछें, डायरेक्टर हो या फैकल्टी हो, कि सर आपका प्रैक्टिकल का एनुअल बजट कितना. बस. तो अगर वो है तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, करिए.
Excellent. So I think practical, as you said, is a must in the industry, and that brings me to my next question, which is, so it's a 2-part question. The first is, when you said about practical, so what kind of practical learning does JLU provide its students in hospitality? That's one. Second thing is, in general, if students want to look at practical learning, whether it's culinary arts or hospitality, how can they do so offline? So one is about the on-campus education via the practical method. The second is off-campus. How do we engage in that?
Like in current, in the normal situation, we usually have 2 practicals for hotel, 4 practicals for hotel management. That goes service, housekeeping, front office, and production. Production, another have 2 practicals, one for the main kitchen and one for the bakery and confectionery arts. When it comes about our culinary program, we have 3 practicals of culinary, 1 for bakery and 2 for the kitchen. And for culinary arts, we call every month a chef from the industry. We have a pool of around 24 chefs, which includes Padam Shri Dr. Imtiaz Qureshi also. He's the first chef to get Padam Shri. We have Kunal Kapoor with us for that. We have Chef Izzat Hussain. We have Nishan Chobe, Palani Murugan, chef, many, around 24 chefs. And every month one will come
Dipankar, I think sir's video got stuck.
Yeah, I think so. His audio is also not coming across.
Yeah.
Professor Naqvi, if you can hear me, may I please request you to reconnect?
I think he cannot.
I think while Professor Naqvi is just trying to reconnect, let's just take a few questions and answer them, Abhishek. So Jia, your question is it compulsory to get a degree or diploma is okay too? Frankly, this is one of those domains wherein skills matter the most, okay? So whether you're getting a degree or a diploma, that's completely subjective depending on what level are you at. Now, you could be someone, for example, okay, Anjali, thank you for the information. I think Anjali just said that there are network issues in Bhopal. So that's why Professor Naqvi has a network issue. But Jia, as I was saying, that it's one of those industries where you can make a subjective call. So you could be somebody who does a degree program in let's say, hotel hospitality or hotel management, culinary arts, and then also does a few certifications, let's say in French cuisine, in Italian cuisine, in North American cuisine, and you do, let's say, a certified diploma in bakery and patisserie. That's also something that you can do. So there's no stop on the kind of learning that you can engage in. All right. So this is one area where you can engage in a lot of learning and through multiple channels. Okay, Namita, I think Abhishek answered your question, but I do want to address that physical appearance is not equal to grooming. What this industry looks at is a groomed version. It looks at grooming. Physical appearance does not matter. Anurag, how to become a communicative person. Communication is an art. Anurag, I think it's something which has to be invested in. It's something which has to be built upon. So I would start with reading. I would start with just basic oral communication and ensure that all of my communication, all of my interaction, whether in my friend circle or in my social circle or at home for that matter, is in English language or a foreign language that I'm learning. That would really, really help build your communication skills. Right. Okay. Are there any more questions?
Oh, thank you so much, Siddhant and Riya. We're glad to hear that.
Students, if you have any questions that you want to be able to ask, please go ahead and type them in the chat box while we're waiting for Professor Naqvi to join in. We'll be happy to answer those questions for you.
Kanishka, the practical sir was talking about means that, if I'm talking about cooking, that has to be done. That's practical. I cannot just talk about it and do not implement or try that out. Even if I'm talking about the hotel management space, if I'm talking about the kind of grooming standards and cleanliness in the hotel and how to go about a particular task, I have to do it and see for myself that if I'm doing it right or not. That is how I learn. So there's a major practical element. It's more about doing than rather just reading or learning about it. It has to be implemented. It cannot be done. I mean, simply if I'm sitting at home and watching a video on a cooking channel doesn't mean I can cook a dish as well. I have to go to the kitchen and make the effort. So it's all practical for that. I think that's your answer.
Absolutely. Mr. Sharma, I think we did answer your question. Just please scroll through the chat and you'd be able to find my response on it. But in essence, what I wanted to communicate was that, for example, if you're wanting to build communication skills amongst others, right? How long can we resort to the same age-old methods of debating, of MUNs, of extemporaries, etc.? Why can't we, for example, while we're doing a lesson in class, why can't we engage in 2 or 3 people coming on board and a role play kind of a concept wherein we are challenging such social situation? That, for example, you're in an alien country and you're asking somebody for a direction from one place to the other place. And you just need to simulate that kind of conversation on the classroom. That will facilitate social skills, that will facilitate general awareness, fact orientation, and also communication skills. So it's all about the creativity and how much you can get all across to it. Smriti, in terms of challenges to expect in the hospitality industry, of course, there's a little bit of initial struggle period. Then, of course, like we told about the long hours, high pressure jobs. And Professor Naqvi mentioned that there is there's no social, there's a little bit of hit on the social life, and because you're continuously working and you're continuously serving for your guests. So I think those kind of elements, they can get challenging, but they're not necessarily challenges that you could expect in the hospitality industry. It depends on the person to person. For some, those high pressure jobs could be interesting. For some, it could be not so interesting. So it depends on the way that and the kind of lens that you look at that from. Are there any more? Akshay, yes, travel tourism is a tiny part of hospitality. It's an allied sector, so it's not something in which we are saying that it is a part or it's not. It's a allied sector.
Anjali, I'll give you a brief. When you look at India, the IHM starting from Aurangabad, we have Oberoi Step, we have Manipal Welcome Group, great institutes. If you're looking at abroad, we have excellent institutes which are the best in the world in Switzerland and Australia and France, of course. So these are the top 3 countries hotel management, and of course we have excellent institutes in India as well. Dipankar, I think Professor Naqvi is having an issue joining in.
Yep, I think he is. Okay.
Same, Anjali, it stays the same.
All right. So Jia, I'm going to take this Jia's question, for a minute. Kitchen in hotel is not as creative as at a restaurant. Out of hotel. Da, 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 da. No, actually, Jia, you can invent dishes inside the kitchen in a hotel as well, because the only difference is, for example, if you, let's say, go to a themed cafe, you'll have far more creative inputs. You'll have far more options, because a lot of people from all sorts of backgrounds come and visit that cafe. But for example, if you're saying that I am somebody who's working at the kitchen of Oberoi Uday Vilas or Oberoi Raj Vilas, which are the best in the world, then of course you have to meet certain standards, you have to meet certain tastes, because that's a clientele coming in. And as Professor Naqvi clearly told us in this session, that it's always client-centric first. Whatever your guest demands, you have to deliver. So in this case, the preferences, choices of the guests need to be factored in, and that's perhaps you're feeling the difference you're feeling a little bit of difference there. But it's all about your perspective. It's not something which is a necessary fact in the industry. So with that, I think Abhishek, we're good to we have answered nearly all questions.
Absolutely.
And we're good to thank everyone. So if you could just do the honors.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Dipankar and Professor Naqvi. I think Sir hasn't joined in, but I hope you were able to get insight about culinary arts and hospitality as a whole. If there are any further questions, we are always here to help, not just about these 2 domains, but about any career options. I know a lot of students are really anxious about the news that came out yesterday about the boards. So whatever thing that you might be going through, is there anything you want to discuss, want to know about the careers, university admissions, we are always there to help round the clock. So you can email us at hello@minor.com. You will get to hear from us at the earliest. So please, you're not alone in your career journey. We are there to help in every way possible. Please reach out to us. That's the only way we can help you out. And if there are any questions, we are more than happy to entertain those over email, and you can connect with us as well. For now, thank you so much for taking out this hour and joining us. I hope you were able to make the best use out of it. We're looking forward to talking to you in other webinars as well. Thank you so much.